They've given us some of the most agonizing experiences of our young lives as nippers, and they continue to upset our own children and grandchildren, but nettles are more than just needle irritants. The Cornish make a delicious cheese using them, the Nepalese make curries, and some people even use them for clothing. Read on for our expert guide to nettles and then go nettle foraging. Why do nettles sting? The British nettle carries its stinging barbs on the stem and the underside of the leaf for protection from those animals that might eat or uproot it. Native British nettles inject a cocktail of formic acid, histamine, acetylcholine and serotonin, and that is what causes the bobbly swelling and itchy skin we suffer when we brush up against it. However, that is nothing compared to the effects some more exotic nettles have at their disposal. On the island of Timor in Southeast Asia, one species of nettle causes lockjaw and a painful burning sensation, both of which can last for days or weeks. Elsewhere, a native species on the Indonesian island of Java produces similar, but more potent results that can last for months and have even caused the death of some of victims. Where does the word nettle comes from? The Latin for the nettle plant is dioica. It means two houses and is a reference to the fact that the male and female flowers are carried on separate plants. It has been suggested that the term nettle is derived from the Old English for needle, a reference to the stinging leaves. Nettle facts 1. Nettles are loved by butterflies, red admirals and painted ladies, peacocks, small tortoise shells and commas are particularly fond of nettles. With butterflies on the decline generally, the plants provide an important food source for these pretty insects. They in turn help to pollinate our garden flowers and crops. Ladybirds live on nettles before they reach maturity too. Nettles help ladybirds do their job. While many green-fingered folk see nettles as nothing more than weeds, they can actually provide gardeners with a vital tool to protect their plants. Young ladybirds live on nettles as they grow and develop, using their foliage to hide from predators. When the ladybirds reach maturity, they venture further into the garden to eat the aphids that suck the sap from young plant growth. With bees struggling too, we need to support these creatures as best we can. If you're not keen on nettles running wild in your flower beds, why not create a wildlife corner, perhaps behind the shed in your garden or by the compost heap if you have an allotment. Leave it untended and help attract these beautiful and useful insects. 3. Nettles keep fruit fresh. The leaves of nettle plants can, when used to pack fruit, help to keep it fresh and ripe, stifling and stopping mold from forming. Nettles are good at protecting fellow plants in general, warding fungal infections and diseases off other nearby plants. Their high nitrogen content can be used in compost, fueling the bacteria to help them break down material more effectively and quickly. Nettle tea has a refreshing, delicate flavor. 4. Nettles are delicious. Boiling nettle leaves into a tea is a popular way to extract their subtle flavor and getting rid of the sting at the same time. They have an earthy, wholesome flavor similar to spinach and other greens. You can also use nettles to make a fragrant pesto. Scroll down for the recipe. Nettles are used to coat Cornwall's delicious yard cheese, and in Northumberland, the leaves are ground and sprinkled amongst cheese during production by one cheesemaker. Nettle wine and beer are also traditionally made in the UK. Horse breeders have long fed nettles to horses to help provide a sleek coat, and in Sweden nettles are grown by farmers, dried out, causing them to lose their sting, and fed to dairy cattle, as it increases milk production. 5. Nettles can reveal our hidden history. Nettles will grow just about anywhere, but they prefer rich soils and benefiting from the waste humans produce. In this way, the presence of large collections of nettles in the wild can sometimes indicate where settlements once existed. The site may not longer be visible on the surface, but the nutrients in the rich soil still provide the perfect conditions for the nettles. 6. And nettles are used in medicine. Nettles have traditionally been used for medicinal purposes by many cultures. Native Americans used the fresh leaves to treat aches and pains. European herbalists used the leaves in a similar fashion to treat gout and arthritis. Also, with the plant dried out to neutralize the acid in the sting, the leaves become a natural antihistamine and can help with asthma. Some of these uses are now being scientifically tested, with some surprising results. Nettles are now sometimes prescribed for certain allergies and arthritic conditions, as well as some diseases of the prostate. Nettles have been used as a natural therapy for centuries, but recently they have been incorporated as an ingredient in modern medicine. 7. Nettles can be turned into clothes. The fibers in the nettle plant are similar to linen and can be spun into yarn. Nettle fabric was used to make German uniforms in World War I. Scientists at De Montfort University in Leicester have used nettle fabric to make dresses in the past. Nettle yarn was often used to make tablecloths and bedsheets in Scotland and in Russia. The juice from the plant has traditionally been used to create a green dye. A yellow dye comes from the roots. Nettles can be turned into a liquid fertilizer. 6. Nettles make perfect plant feed like comfrey. Nettles make perfect liquid plant food. Fill a bucket with nettles and fill with water. Within 10 days you'll have a thick dark brown liquid, rich in nitrogen and smelling like a heap of manure. Diluted with water, 10 parts water to 1 part nettle juice. It makes a fantastic fertilizer, but be warned, it stinks. 7. Eating nettles is good for you. If the thought of stinky nettle compost isn't enough to put you off, then you really should try eating nettles because they're absolutely packed with nutrients. Not only are they high in vitamin C, and full of calcium, magnesium, iron, and potassium, they are also a good source of protein. Like spinach, when cooked, nettles reduce to about a quarter of their fresh amount when cooked, so a carrier bag full will yield about 500 grams 1 pound when cooked. So scroll down for some fantastic recipe ideas. It's safest to wear gloves when picking nettles. Show to pick nettles safely. Fancy and easy foraging adventure. Nettles may not be the first thing you'd plan for dinner, but these prickly plants are surprisingly tasty when cooked, and have a long history as a foodstuff. Native Americans would harvest the young plant in spring, and nettle cordial can be traced back to the Romans. Stinging nettles taste similar to spinach and are very good for you. They have an unusually high protein content for a vegetable and are rich in vitamins A, C, D, iron, potassium and calcium. Nettles grow in abundance everywhere in the UK, and are easily recognizable. Take thick gloves. Nettles are best when very tender, so pick them in the spring when the nettles are just coming up, or later in the season when they're growing well, but before they are flowering. Use rubber gloves or pinch the leaves hard, so you don't get stung. Pick the young leaves from the tips. Lay the nettles out on a tray to wilt or wash them in hot water. Once wilted, they can no longer sting you. The sting relies on erect hairs to penetrate the skin and inject the stinging formic acid. When wilted, strip the leaves off the tough stems. Always cook nettles to destroy the stinging acid. Nettles are not suitable for salads, and collect the biggest leaves, then wash them in very hot water, neutralizing the stinging chemicals and making them safe to eat. Nettle recipe ideas. Nettle soup makes a delicious foraged treat. DC nettle soup ingredients: 50 grams butter, carrier bag full of nettles, 1 onion, diced 1 carrot, chopped 2 celery sticks, chopped 2 large garlic cloves, finely chopped 1 potato, cooked and cubed 1 liter stock, spoonful of creme fraiche.